Hello everyone, welcome back to Take My Journey. In my video today, our journey is going to be about carnivore and cholesterol. I know a lot of people are concerned about this, and I understand why. Back in about 1992, the USDA brought out the food pyramid, and that pyramid was kind of a guide on how they wanted people to eat healthier. And the base of the pyramid was all the breads and the grains and all that kind of stuff. So that was what they wanted mostly. Then the middle was the fruits and the vegetables. And then the top was the meat and the protein. Well, ever since that pyramid was put out and they really started pushing low-fat diets, rates of disease, especially diabetes and childhood diabetes, continued to grow, and insulin resistance continued to grow. And I think that was in 1992, and the original pyramid was done in Sweden, actually in the 70s. And Sweden did it to try to help people eat healthier, but also I noted it was at a reasonable cost. So I thought that was interesting because maybe that kind of shows you that base of the pyramid that's mostly grains and breads and pastas and all that kind of stuff is not as expensive. And you know what they say, a lot of times skimping on price isn't always the best thing. So when that happened, there was a big push, and there was also a study done in 1967 where this research group wanted to dispel the myth that sugar caused heart disease. And they got some Harvard scientists and they brought them together and they did a study. Well, what they forgot to mention was all this research was funded by the sugar industry. And there is one thing that I do want to let you know that I discovered, and you can discover this on information also by different doctors on the internet, that when a company, any company, say a pharmaceutical that wants to study a drug, or a food industry that's looking to study the effects of sugar and heart disease, they fund those studies and they pick the people that do them. But what I did not know is if the results come out not in the favor that they want, then that study goes away and no one knows about the study. They do not have to publish the study. And I think that's very telling, because a lot of research publications come out and they're published, but they are manipulated in certain ways and things are left out and not put in, and certain patients that are involved in it, they leave out information. But as long as it kind of comes out in the direction that they like, then they'll put that out there and go, see, this is great, it's fine. But if it doesn't come out the way they want, they trash it. And I think we should know that the study didn't come out the way that they wanted it to. I just thought that was kind of interesting. But ever since the USDA has developed that, there was these two doctors and they were trying to prove, one was trying to say fat was evil, the other one was trying to say carbohydrates were evil. And the gentleman, the doctor or scientist, he won out that fat was evil. And that's when our diet started to change. And I think they did tweak the food pyramid a little bit in 2005. You can go online and do some research about that, because they realized that it really was insufficient in protein consumption for humans. and the protein had the fat in it, and they were worried about cholesterol. And there's a lot of doctors today that still are stuck on that specific. If you're LDL and cholesterol's at a certain level, you're going on statins and that's it. And but that, you can't blame them. That's what they were taught during that time. But there's a lot of new doctors coming up now that are starting to learn new and different things. And one of the interesting things is they're really breaking down they're just, instead of studying cholesterol like your content, oh, this is the content, you have 268, this is your number. They're getting down to the specifics of each part of the cholesterol and what's involved in it and how it affects our body. And they're finding out that cholesterol is made by our body. We need cholesterol to survive. It is essential. Our liver makes cholesterol. And it's very important to our hormones, especially us gals out there. It's very important. They're finding that cholesterol is very important for the brain, and maybe a deficiency in certain cholesterol is not helping the Alzheimer's community or the dementia community. So this is something that I think is very important that we all need to keep our eyes on. And I do more so because I am a carnivore. But if you're not a carnivore, I still think it's very important, because if you're a female or a male and your hormones are important to you, your brain health is important to you, things like that, this is something we really need to keep an eye on. There was a new study, and I'm going to link the video below, the YouTube video of the gentleman that brought this to light, a new study in the Internal Journal of Cardiology. And it was, I'm looking at my notes here because, I want to try to get this right. They were looking for a link between diabetes and CAC scores, which I talked about this in a previous video about your coronary artery calcium score, which measures if you have any plaque buildup in your heart. And they were looking at lipid biomarkers and diabetic biomarkers and how they were linked to the scores. And they found, and this study I think just came out this month, they found that LDL cholesterol, the one that everybody thinks is the bad cholesterol, did not correlate with the degree of coronary calcium plaque buildup. They found that. And this was a study of over 5,000 people. And they started measuring the, not that just the content of your cholesterol, but the particles themselves and how they each have their own role. When it becomes, and you can go and I'll put the link, you can read this. When your triglyceride levels become very high, that's a game changer. So it's showing more about triglycerides being involved more than necessarily just your LDL. Your HDL, they call it your healthy cholesterol, and that needs to be good too. That needs to be high. They want you to have a good high HDL cholesterol, and that's kind of related to how active you are. So if you want your HDL to kind of go up, get a little more active. Take a walk after each meal. 15 minutes. It could make a huge difference. So they looked at the HDL, the LDL, the VLDL, and there was no consistent association with CAC scores. They didn't see it with the bad cholesterol. So that's really important. That's a game changer. So the pendulum is starting to move, and they are starting to do more research regarding your cholesterol and heart disease. And I believe myself that I don't think it's the LDL. I think it's the triglycerides that are affecting the heart disease, and sugar and insulin resistance and that kind of stuff. And, if you guys are interested in this type of content, I can go into it a little bit more. And if I get more, as I get more information, I'm happy to bring it to you if this is something that you're interested in. So if it is, comment, give me a thumbs up. I do want to say I am not a doctor. I'm just going by my experience and things that I have learned, and I'm just trying to pass them along to you and encourage you to do your own research and talk to your doctor, show them these studies, and communicate about it a little bit more, and see if you can make progress. If you have a doctor that's flat out no, you might want to change doctors. That's up to you. But again, I'm not a doctor, so I'm just trying to bring you some information to pique your curiosity and to get you to question things and look at things a little bit differently. I think down the road, it might take a decade before the carnivore diet is really starting to make momentum. But right now, there is a turn of the corner, and I think it's going to make some fabulous progress down the line, because metabolically, the carnivore diet, especially if you have any kind of autoimmune issues or arthritis issues, things like that, even they're saying mental health. Mental health is huge. The carnivore diet can be a fabulous tool to help your life. So please look into it. I'm encouraging you to look into that. There is another video I'm going to recommend, and it's an interview with Dr. Philp Ovadia. And I think I might have mentioned him in one of my other carnivore, or I listed him down below. He is a heart surgeon. He has a book called How to Stay Off My Surgery Table. So he is a pretty big proponent of the carnivore diet and cutting out those carbs and pastas and bread items. And it's not just the pasta and the bread items that the food pyramid pushed the public to. It's the manufacturers of food decided to start putting out stuff with no fat or low fat in it, and it was all processed. And to make it taste better, they added more sugar. And so it's just caused a horrible thing in our diets and our health in, America today. And hopefully we can get it corrected. And we might not have to have people go full bore carnivore if that's too, but there is always the keto, which is very popular. And that's how I started. I was keto for about 20 years before I went carnivore. So, and I'd say right now I've been carnivore for 2 years, and I do partake occasionally. I'll have a quarter of a sweet potato, or just to kind of surprise my body or something. I'm not as strict because I don't want to lose any more weight. But 95% of the time I'm pretty much carnivore. So, but like I said, you can be in the keto realm. So I'm going to link another video below of interview with Dr. Philp Ovadia, and he is a heart surgeon. So I think what he has to say is very interesting. And he talks a lot about the push towards the carbohydrates in the grains. And he talks about also the insulin resistance and how that is a marker that for heart disease, like if you are insulin resistance, and a lot of it's from eating processed foods. One thing I'm going to mention about the cholesterol is statins. As we all know, if your cholesterol, and it's interesting because I think back in the 1960s or 70s, a cholesterol of like 270 was normal. It wasn't any big deal. But once all of that started coming out, then they want to do under 200, under 170. I mean, it got so strict, and they really start, well, if you're not under this, you're going to go on a statin. I just want to, let you know, statins are one of the all-time #1 most prescribed drugs out there. There's a lot of money involved in statins. It's a really big deal. And so I just wanted to bring that up. And I wanted to talk about, I think I mentioned cholesterol was important with your hormones, especially women. Cholesterol is also important for your immune system. And cholesterol is also important for vitamin D synthesis, which I'm sure you've seen in the last so many years. Vitamin D is very, very important for our metabolic health. Also, there's information out there that has mortality from heart attacks been lowered since statins were introduced. No, it has not. You would think with the #1 drug that is thrown out there in the prescribed for heart disease, you would think that the mortality rate of heart disease would go down, wouldn't you? But it hasn't. So that's kind of interesting when you really think about that. Again, if you enjoyed this content, give me a thumbs up. Ask questions. If there's anything else I can let you know, or I can go find out for you, or something that you might want to know. With that being said, I'd like to ask you guys a question. Would you, if you enjoy this content, are you interested in me doing more videos about health? And in regards to, specifically because I'm a woman and I'm 62, I'm thinking about doing a series about women's health, perimenopausal, menopause, if you're interested in that. There are things that, I have osteoporosis, so we could dive into some information about osteoporosis. There are subjects like HRT, hormone replacement therapy, and how it affects women, things like that. Are you interested in me diving into some things like that? There's, we go through menopause, and women talk about, for you guys out there, this is probably, not a subject that you're interested in. Well, maybe if it involves your wife. Painful intercourse, things like that. What we go through as women when we go through menopause, there's a thing called vulvodynia, which is pain in the vaginal area. There's a thing called vestibular vulvodynia, which is that's a chronic at the opening of the vagina that literally can be life-changing. It's like tearing, cutting, bleeding, so painful that it can really affect women. So I'm wondering if those are type of things that you might be interested in. Also things like when we're in our 50s and 60s and going towards 70s, what our exercise routine looks like compared to when we were younger in our 20s. I remember when I was younger, after I had my kids, it was cardio, and a little bit of weights. And I was on that Precor machine, that thing, for an hour and a half. And I remember thinking, oh, I'm doing good for myself and all that kind of stuff. But when I saw how many calories I burned, it was like 250 calories. It wasn't anything. It was like, oh, if I ate a candy bar, I might burn that off on the pre-car for an hour and a half. So as a menopausal woman and in my 60s, my routine has changed, and especially since I have osteoporosis. So there's a lot of evidence that heavy weight bearing, exercises is crucial for osteoporosis. So if that's another subject that you're interested in, I would love to do videos like that with a series of videos on women's health and things that are going on nowadays regarding that. So please let me know if you're interested in that. Ask questions. Is there a subject that I didn't think of that you might and you want to know about? And I'll see if I can find out information and make a video about it for you. So that's everything today. I just wanted to kind of touch on the cholesterol issue and the evilness of fat, since I'm a carnivore, and I know a lot of people are afraid about that. So thank you for joining me on my journey today about that, and I look forward to our time together next time. Subscribe and give me a thumbs up, comment. I love all your comments, and I try to get to everybody. So everyone, be kind, be grateful, and have a great night.